Live. Oh, by golly. Can you turn TV off completely, actually? I forgot for internet connection. Okay, Houston, let's look into some bits. Wow, I go away for 2 weeks and I come back and the entire YouTube display is just different now. So that's new. So let's get a sound check on that and make sure everything... Wow, that's totally working. What's the decibel count coming in? It's 9.1. All right, we're good. It's pretty nominal. All right, everybody. So, in case you haven't seen it, Ned DeHaan from Black Box Online Radio just released his first episode on the I-70 killer. Of course, because it's the first time he's talked about this case or covered this case, it's going to include a lot of the basic information that we know already. If you're a researcher of this case, and that's a good thing, because what I think this case has really not benefited from is publicity. And sadly, not only has this case not gotten any publicity, the answer to this case is in it getting publicity. It's actually the only answer that we have left, which is going to bring us into some discussion about task force, the ballistics, and then sort of what I've been doing with this slew of composite sketches that you're going to see today. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about for each one of these sketches. In case you can't tell because of exposure-related issues, back here behind me is a age-progressed composite sketch of the man who shot and killed gas station clerk Billy Brossman. And then behind that is another age-progressed sketch of the man who shot and killed Billy Brossman. And they're just two different versions. And they're meant to represent different possible conditions for how this individual may look today. See, the way that this started was that I started doing what I called proportionate composites. And the idea was to take the blurry CCTV footage that I've showed on this channel of the murder of Billy Brossman and to make basically specific and individual measurements of approximate center points of the blurry mess that those facial features are, and then map them onto a map and then draw my composite based on that individual. Well, there's a couple problems with this, though I do stand by it as at least one way to arrive at a possible likeness of the person seen in the blurry footage. The first problem really is that it's a very mechanical, very unnatural, uncanny valley approach to the appearance of an individual's face. Over the last few days, and since I've been on a little hiatus here on YouTube for like 2 weeks with you guys, but during that time I've been watching a lot of Uncharted X, a lot of ancient Egyptian engineering and precision stuff. And one of the things that's brought up at the Giza Plateau and in the area surrounding that is these statues of human faces that are littered across the desert. And it's described and explained by Ben Kirkwick from Uncharted X how there's a perfect symmetry in those statue faces that looks very unnatural. And an actual human face isn't going to be a mathematical, perfectly symmetrical template map of facial features. And so that's the first primary issue with doing those composites that way. But I'm not invalidating them. I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I think that they have a purpose in this case. And we're going to go, there's a bunch of rabbit holes that come off of that. But really, what we get from those experiments is something that's too perfect. So the next approach, or actually the next real problem with that methodology, is that we're attempting to derive or illustrate a likeness of this person's face as he appeared in 2001. Well, he definitely doesn't look the same anymore as he did in 2001, and what we're trying to do today is to catch the I-70 killer today. And so what's going to end up happening is you're going to get a likeness of a guy as he appeared in 2001. And while this might be helpful for potentially a grandchild or a nephew or somebody in Indiana recognizing this son of a bitch and telling us, hey, that's my dad, or whatever it is, they're going to be seeing this and going, that's my dad from 20-something years ago. I don't think it's him. And so St. Charles has said this, and we're going to talk about the efficacy of the law enforcement investigation over the course of the last 33 years it's been since these crimes took place, at least the 92 spree, going, from in a little bit. But St. Charles has said that they want you to call in a tip if you even have the slightest inkling that the person that you know might be the I-70 killer. And I really like this approach that they're taking with this. Detectives from those jurisdictions have gone on record to say that they would rather sort through 10,000, what's the word for it? Possible but unlikely tips or pieces of information than to have someone accidentally sit on the right tip because they were too hesitant to report it or didn't think it was a strong enough lead. And if that's truly something that they are going by, and they seem to be quite genuine in their interviews with Bob Cyphers, then that's great. And I hope that that is the way that this is being treated by law enforcement. I personally called the St. Charles, Missouri Police Department and basically told them that I had found the height of the I-70 killer, or that I had found the height of the Billy Brossman shooter, and we'll talk about that too in a second, and that it was smack dab in the middle of the height estimates of the original 1992 I-70 killer, and therefore that was one more piece of information to indicate that Brossman was in fact killed by the I-70 killer, which I on this channel will pretty emphatically tell you I very strongly believe is the same individual. And I was forwarded to the voicemail box of a Detective Rhodes out of St. Charles, Missouri. I left them that tip, that piece of information, and never received any sort of callback or any sort of follow-up. There's two possibilities for why this may be the case. The first is that St. Charles, Missouri already knows this information, that their offender is 5'8", or the second is that they don't care. Hopefully, it's option number one. What's up, Zap? When I called St. Charles, Missouri Police, I was put on the phone with the dispatcher. Basically, the lady answered the phone, said, "Dispatch." And I said, "Hi, I'm calling because I have information." Thanks, Zap. I am calling because I have information on the height of the Billy Brossman shooter, or the I-70 killer. And immediately, without any hesitation, the lady said, "Okay, let me get you over to the detective that handles that case." Instantaneous transfer. And then I got a voicemail box for Detective Rhodes. Here's what that tells me. One, that the dispatcher knew what I was talking about, because I barely offered any information in that initial salvo of words that I opened up with. And two, that there is actively a detective who is assigned to this case and does take the calls from the dispatch, even potentially anyone who calls. So if you have any information about whether it's the Billy Brossman shooting, the I-35 spree from 1993 to 1994, or the original I-70 killer spree in 1992, call the St. Charles, Missouri Police Department and give that information. They will put you through to the voicemail box of Detective Rhodes. Now, hopefully Detective Rhodes is looking at this information, but only time will tell. So all this goes for me to say that these composite sketches that we're going to be talking about, showing and stuff today, although that some of them represent the offender as he appeared in 2001, I think the most effective way to approach contemporary or current composites of this individual are going to be all age progressed. Because one, I believe that this guy is still alive. Two, I believe somebody can recognize him and identify him based on the Terre Haute, Indiana 2001 CCTV. And 3, I believe that he is definitely still a danger to society. I don't think that he is old enough to be rendered incapable of being a clear and present possible threat. But he's out there. And has he killed since 2001? We don't know. There's no indication that he has. There's no indication that he hasn't. Really, all we know is that it appears that the last time the I-70 killer struck was in 2001, and I do not think that this person is dead. So the first thing to put up here, since we're talking composites, is, of course, the famous one. I'm going to pull out this little son of a gun right here. This is the famous and main... Is there any good earlier or later unconfirmed crimes? I don't know, because as you know, Zap, and I think as a lot of people on this channel know, I am very hesitant to touch stuff unless I have a really solid reason to think that it's relevant to the case. I haven't really entertained much non-canonical EAR. I haven't entertained like any non-canonical Zodiac, that kind of thing. But there could very well be other crimes out there, and I just don't know about them, because it takes so much analysis of the stuff that we do know for sure to arrive at any sort of truthful comprehension of it. That, if you're going to be looking at Sherry Joe Bates, if you're going to be looking at Domingos Edwards, if you're going to be looking at the swindles and this and that and the other 12 things, one, you'll know a very small amount about each one, and 2, you'll be a mess of information and you won't know. So stick to Faraday Jensen, or Faraday Jensen, Farron Majo. You know what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Stick to the canonicals. Figure out what you actually know in those canonicals and what we know for sure. And then, once we identify them, maybe we'll be able to link them to other crimes. But until that time, anything goes. And for the I-70 killer, this is a very, very elusive serial killer. I think he's the most elusive serial killer that I've ever researched, because there's no communications with the media or the press. There's no communications with law enforcement. There's basically no evidence left behind, except, some shell casings and a geographic profile that actually doesn't tell us too much, but we can get into that too. And there's no publicity for this thing. And I think that I used to think this was a bad thing, that this offender never communicated with law enforcement or the press, because it didn't give us any leads. But now I think it's actually a really good thing, because as you can see with Zodiac, the letters and the ciphers and the riffraff and the bullshit that's come along from Zodiac communicating with us has caused so many problems in the research effort that the case is, without DNA, unsolvable at this point. It will not be solved without DNA. That's where I am on Zodiac. And that's... totally muddies the water, Zap. Oh, by the way, Rihanna says hello. She wanted me to say hello to everyone who came in today. And you are here, and she says hello. We just had our 1-year wedding anniversary 2 days ago. And Zodiac's letters, Zodiac's ciphers, Zodiac's stupid nonsense, has gotten us to a position where the case is unsolvable unless we have DNA, and it would have been very much the same thing with the EAR had he not left his DNA everywhere. We got very lucky with the Irons that there was a DNA profile to pursue, because if we hadn't had that, we would never have found him. Because there was just so much of a mess, and that was a very prolific case. There was a lot of crime scenes. There was a lot of activity, a lot of series inside that greater series of series that he's been officially linked to. That without a DNA profile, we would have never Found junk food, Joey. All right. So, with the I-70 killer, we don't have any of this bullshit going on, and I'm very grateful for that, at least, because I think that it's going to at least give us a chance, and in this case, I do truly think that we have something that we don't often have in a serial killer investigation, is we have video of the serial killer. Oh, thanks, Zap. This isn't my that sketch. Yeah. I'm gonna put a bunch of stuff on screen, but thanks, Zap. I've been doing a lot of practice on them, so hopefully they're improving. They're getting a little bit of low bit rate here, but it's kind of climbing up and down. That I'm good, because the more accurate I can get to drawing. I've also started using charcoal, and charcoal is gangster as fuck. We have video footage, I believe, of the I-70 killer in action. We don't have that from Zodiac. We don't have that from Eons. That's incredibly rare. And I think it was the greatest slip-up that this offender ever... yeah. Or are you saying, oh, really? Yeah, the junk food, Joey? Right here. Well, I colorized it, too. You're not supposed to do that with composites, by the way. Their studies have shown, as they like to say. Studies have shown colorized composites are actually... disadvantageous. I believe that we have video footage of the I-70 killer. If you're saying, oh, really, to that, of course I'm talking about Brosman. Because I do think that Billy Brosman was killed by the I-70 killer. If it's worth anything for you, Zap, which I'm sure it is, because you're a regular Ned Head Black Box Battalion type guy. Ned and I talked about this, and Ned is also convinced that Billy Brosman was murdered by the I-70 killer. There's just too much. The modus operandi. I really looked into a lot of studies into sketches. Oh yeah, we can talk. Well, let's. I don't want to get too off, going too much of a tangent. But we will talk, because this is going to be a stream largely about sketches, and I haven't even really gotten started. It's been 20 minutes. There's too much with the Brosman homicide that to me is just. It's real. No, it's fine. You can, I'd love to do tangents too. I'm going to get myself on them, so don't worry. There's so much that indicates that Brosman was killed by the I-70 killer that I think the only reason we don't call it a canonical I-70 crime is, well, a couple of reasons, but a couple of the primary reasons are the time, that it's 9 years after the original 1992 spree. And that he wasn't leaving Jeweler's Rouge on ejected shell casings at the Brosman scene. If he had done that, then of course it would be considered canonical, because there's too much circumstantial evidence that's going to show us that Brosman was in fact killed by the man whose likeness is represented by this composite. What the fuck? Here. Okay. So this is, of course, the famous I-70 killer sketch. Now... St. Charles, Missouri Police Department did age progress this sketch. I don't know if I have their absolutely awful... Yes, I do. Here is the St. Charles, Missouri Police Department's age progression of the I-70 killer. And we're going to talk about why I think this is a bullshit sketch. So, I actually have a friend who's in jail for shooting someone in the leg. And that guy looks a lot like this guy, but he's way too young to be the I-70 killer. But he looks a lot like this, actually. It's pretty funny. So we're going to take this Drill'em sketch off of the screen, and we're just going to go into this age... This is the official age progression from the St. Charles, Missouri Police Department. Well, it worked quite well with John List. Of course, that wasn't a sketch. It was a statue that got him identified. But the statue of John List compared to what John List looked like when he was arrested is amazingly accurate. So it does give me some faith in the concept of age progression. Yeah, did you know about that? So John List was captured because a sculptor... Yeah, it's actually really cool. A sculptor took a photo of him from when he was young, made a 3D sculpture of him, and then age progressed it on the sculpture, and his neighbors recognized him, and he was captured. So he's a family annihilator that was arrested in, I think, the 80s or something like that. But his crime was like from the 50s or something like that. No, maybe 71. Maybe I'm smoked out. I think he killed his family in 1971, and then he was identified in the 80s based on an age-progressed sculpture. So here's what I definitely want to say this. The Drill'em sketch, we'll call it the main sketch of the I-70 killer, I believe that this is probably a pretty decent likeness of this person because of the place from where it was sourced. This was sourced, as far as I know, from a man named Tim Hickman. And Tim Hickman worked at the video store next to the Store of Many Colors where Sarah Blessing was shot and killed. And he basically came face-to-face with the I-70 killer like 3 times. So that's a possibility of where this... Yeah, Tim Hickman is a legend. We can talk about why Tim Hickman's badass, but really what we can say about Tim Hickman, without getting too off topic here, is that he's a very valuable witness in this case. And that's one more thing that indicates that Brosman was killed by the I-70 killer, is that Tim Hickman saw the same surveillance footage that we've all seen of the I-70 killer, or the Brosman killer. Right here, where is he? This guy right here. This guy here on your screen. Tim Hickman saw this video footage and emphatically replied, yes, that's the same man that I, parentheses, that I had seen in 1992. And so that's just one more piece of the puzzle that tells us that that this guy is that guy. So where's my little pause button here? So look at the sketch, look at the surveillance footage. Now, as we get deeper into the weeds on things today and talk about this, I'm going to be showing you guys amalgamated composites. I'm going to be showing you guys composites that I've done, and then age-progressed composites that I've done, and then all kinds of stuff. Okay, so this is the main composite sketch of the I-70 killer, basically is what I mean to say right here. I am pretty confident in this composite. I think that it probably is close to what he looks like. Of course, they're never the exact same, as I've said a million times from every rooftop in America. But this definitely looks, I think, like what the I-70 killer looked like in 1992. Okay, now with that out of the way, this is what I've done with that sketch. This is an age progression. Oh, since we were talking about St. Charles's age progression, before I put mine on the screen. St. Charles did that age progression of the 1992 I-70 killer. But what they actually failed to take into account, let's put it back up here for you, is that there's a difference between someone aging and someone just having some wrinkles and white hair. Now, of course, wrinkles in white hair is going to play a part in an age progression, but there are other factors to consider. You ever notice an old man's nose looks bigger than most people around him? The nose basically keeps growing. Ever notice that his ears are longer or that have drooped down over time? The earlobes keep growing, this kind of thing. There's going to be more weight that's generally added, not always, but generally, as men age, they start to put on more weight. And these factors are going to start changing that appearance of the person's face. Now, how drastically does that happen? Well, look no further than a photo of Junk Fu Joey from 1974 and the one that's down there in the corner chomping on DNA on my screen. So we can learn by observing younger pictures of people and then older pictures of people, and you're going to notice they put on a little bit of facial weight. They have maybe sometimes a double chin. They have a bigger nose than they used to. They have certain age lines and things that are going to start popping up. And what St. Charles, Missouri has done here is simply take the same sketch and basically do an overlay of wrinkles. The nose has not changed really at all, if at all. The ears haven't changed at all, if at all. There's no bags under his eye. He doesn't really look like an age progression. He looks like the same guy with white hair and wrinkles. And that's a very lazy way to do an age progression. So, that all being said, here is at least this attempt at age progressing that same composite I just showed you. Why is Portrait Pad trying to... Okay, hold on. Portrait Pad's fun, but I'm learning that these composites are just better than Portrait Pad. So this is an age progression of the sketch that you're seeing on your screen on the left and then on the right. Whoops. And you can see that certain changes have occurred. There are now bags under his eyes. His earlobes sag a little more. His nose is a little bigger. He has that double chin kind of thing forming down there. He's lost his hair. And yes, I do believe that the I-70 killer has balded since his crime spree. Because I do believe he killed Billy Brossman, and the Billy Brossman offender is clearly balding. Or at least in the earlier stages of it, and that was 24 years ago. So this is, I think, a better age progression of the I-70 killer. What age was he during Brossman, you think? Very hard to say. But, okay, so let's say it's the same offender. The I-70 killer was placed somewhere between his like mid-20s and his 30, like kind of basically maybe like close to my age, like 29. He's in that 25 to 30 something range. He's not too old, not too. Now we add another 9 years to that. And what's interesting, really, I think today he's estimated to be in about his mid-60s. Or on the higher end of the spectrum, he could be 29. And so that's another point, too, is that if you think I'm younger than 29, this guy could look younger than he is. You know, he might be in his 30s or something. And sometimes that'll start to exponentially, it will show more as the next 10 or 20 years go on. But the age progression that you see on your screen over here kind of gives you a picture of an offender who might be, you know, in his 50s or early 60s type of a thing. So what age do I think he was during Brossman? That's hard to say. I have some pictures of him, and I'll put them on screen. I have one that says head and hand fall off. I guess that's not really the best one to put on there, but it's fine. Oops. Oh no, don't do that. By golly, you bastards. Get Brossman shooting. Head and hand fall off. Here we go. Alright, how old is that man in the center of your screen? The funny thing is, does he look 9 years older than the guy on the left? I think so. I think he looks like the guy on the left plus 9 years. Now, that's kind of a bad picture, so let's look at this picture, which, although it's got shittier lighting, I would say that guy is like, yeah, man, maybe he's like 40. You know? So it's been 21 years, so now we're looking at 61. And I think some of my age progressions have made him a little bit too old. But that's okay. But yeah, that guy right there in the middle of your screen, between the two composites, he's probably about 40 years old, maybe a little older, maybe 45. Hard to say. But subtract 9 years, and you get the composite on the left. I am basically, without knowing for sure, you guys, I would say that I am as certain as you're ever going to hear me claim to be about something I'm not sure of, that's the same guy. I think that's the I-70 killer. I'm about as sure as I can ever be about something I don't know for sure. Pretty convinced that that's the same guy. To the point where I'm hoping that drumming up publicity for the Brossman murder is going to allow us to solve the 1992 murders. So, and if we don't, worst case scenario, we identify a murderer. Zap says he doesn't know. Well, you're devil's advocate tonight, aren't you, Zap? There's too much. I'm pretty convinced it's the same guy. We talk about the geography of the crime scene. I don't know if I've showed you the aerial photography or satellite imagery of the 7th and 70th liquor store on Prairiton Road, or all the other I-70 killer crime scenes. It's the aerial geography is the same. The modus operandi is basically the same, and you have, I've said this 1,000 times, that the robbery and the murder of Billy Brossman is executed with such streamlined efficiency and so much comfort and confidence that we need to be seeing other serial crimes from this person, because clearly that's not his first robbery and murder, and we have yet to find those unless he's the 1992 serial killer or the I-70 killer. So there's so many different things that I don't want this to turn into a was Billy Brosman killed by I-70, because I've done 1,000 of those streams. But I can make a very valid point that it's the same guy. And, of course, till we identify him, we won't know. But worst case scenario, we catch a murderer. So there's nothing really to lose there as far as drumming up publicity for the Brosman murderer. As long as we don't close the I-70 case based on an arrest in the Brosman case without concrete evidence linking the two, then there's nothing to lose. Now, the only way that this can go wrong is if the Brosman murderer is caught. There's absolutely no concrete evidence to confirm that he's the 1992 I-70 killer, and then we say, let's never look at the I-70 case again, that's been solved. That's the only way that this goes wrong, and I don't think that law enforcement would do that, and I don't think that that would happen, but it could. I'm hoping that if and when the Brosman murderer is caught, that he is prosecuted for the 1992 crimes and he's prosecuted for the Brosman murder, because I believe that there will be some ability to make that confirmation once the man's identified. So, let's keep moving forward. So, like each one of these sketches that I'm going to show, if you know a man that looks like this, or maybe doesn't look like this, maybe even just a little bit of a passing resemblance, call the St. Charles, Missouri Police Department directly. I can put their phone number on screen. Stand by. Let's do that. Here's the official wanted poster for the I-70 killer. The phone number is 1-800-800-3510. And, if you know this guy, or you think you know this guy, or even if you know someone who looks like this guy, and you have reason to believe he might have been in Terre Haute, Indiana in 1992 and or 2001, call Missouri and tell them, because these jurisdictions are communicating. So there's their phone number, 1-800-800-3510. Take it off the screen again, or at least close that down. So this could be a likeness of the I-70 killer, right here. And then let's see where I can put more stuff up at once. Let me see. Okay, I want to show you guys an amalgamation composite, because before I start showing too many non-canonical composites or composites I made with charcoal while I was doodling, this is actually the law enforcement composite, but I've blended all four of them together. So there are 4 composites officially in this case of the I-70 killer. And basically I've set all their transparency at 41% opacity, and then I've painted the background behind them white. Deportment, yeah. Call the St. Charles Police Department. I've painted all of them white, or painted the background white, and then made them all transparent, and this is the resultant amalgamation composite. So this image here is the canonical 4 composite sketches from the I-70 case. They're all blended together in this image, and I think that this might be a even better representation of what this person looks like than the main composite just by itself. Though I will say that I have a lot of confidence in Tim Hickman's recollection. So if that composite does in fact come from Tim Hickman, I think we can put some stock in the composite that you see on your left. The one on the right is all 4 composites blended together, including the alien sketch that I've talked about where he looks like a gray alien. I think he's a weird-looking fellow. Looks more like a real person. Nice. That's good to know. That's good to hear. And interestingly enough, if you take this amalgamated composite and you put it side by side with the Brosman shooter, look what you get. Oops. Brosman shooter. Oh no. It's just random things are moving around. I mean, look at that. That's as good as it gets for composite sketches, man. That's not bad at all. That's insane, actually. Now, I've said this too before, that a composite's real value just kind of gives you a general idea of what kind of person to look for. It doesn't tell you what he actually for sure looks like. But, man, if that's not close, is all damn hell right there. That's just, look at that. Isn't that insane? That's really close, man. So, are there two of these guys that, you know, basically could be brothers, running around executing store clerks at closing time with flawless, efficient, secondarily motivated robberies and never being caught in the same exact area? Or is this just the same guy? And that's why I'm so fucking convinced that that's the same guy. So I like this amalgamated composite because it blends together all the different composite sketches in this case, and I like how close it is to the fucking the I-70 or to the Brosman shooter. So again, take the Brosman off the screen, and then we'll put those ones next to each other. Now, what I do want to do next, by the way, is I want to take this amalgamation composite and age progress that. So I'm going to trace this image, and then I'm going to age progress it. So since I think it's such a valuable composite, look at that. If that's not the Brosman shooter, I will eat my fucking shirt, Zap. I know that's extreme to say, but look at that. Does that not look exactly like the Brosman? That's fucking insane, man. Okay, so here you can see now we have the age progression up there. Original, I wish you could see my cursor. This is something we're always wrestling with on OBS. But by golly, man, that is as close as you can fucking get. It's mind-blowing. And if you consider the provenance of these sketches, and you go, well, these sketches were all from witness description, all four of these that have been put together here into the same sketch. This is an amalgamation of four different people's memories from 1992, and you compare that to the Brosman shooter in a totally separate event 9 years later, and they look that close to each other. That's insane. I would be blown away if that's not the same guy. Not just from the sketch, but it's all the factors considered. The geography of the crime scene, the modus operandi, the signature. I think you were here when we talked about the Brosman shooter doing a celebratory dance on his way out. I mean, who is this fucking guy who's doing a celebratory dance when he leaves the crime scene? That's in the holdback. We have never seen that dance. But law enforcement has the dance footage of the Brosman shooter basically doing a dance after he leaves the crime scene. Who is this fucking guy? And why has he not offended elsewhere, or has he, and is he the 92 shooter? I think so. So keep that up there. The amalgamation, and I'm just going to have to make things smaller as we go, I guess, because there's going to be a lot of stuff on the screen today. But hopefully we can showcase each one as we go. I would love to see the invisible layers of my OBS. They're probably all scrambled around because I'm like always moving things, and then turns out I'm not moving the right thing. If you ever used OBS, you probably know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see here. I like this one. This is another attempt at age progression for the I-70 killer, except this one is an age progression of the Brosman shooter. Of course, same guy. I mean, so is he? Probably. But this is the Brosman shooter, age progressed, as you can see here. Now, the way that I did this sketch here is that I basically drew, and that's a copy of that. Here's the better, fuck. Okay. That's a copy. So you do lose some detail. Let me see if I can just put this one on the screen. Watch this. Watch this internet magic we're about to see. People think technology is our worst enemy. Yeah, right. Watch this. This is going to be crazy. You guys ready for this? Okay. Stand by. Apollo 11 Houston. Dead air, dead air. As Ryan Burns would say, bad pod. Okay. All right, I'm going to put a better image of that on screen because I don't like that one too much. Charcoal 7. I just don't like how much resolution is lost from the copying machine, and I want to put at least a photo of the original. Now, a scan would be really nice, but I don't have a scanner that works for some unknown reason. Because my scanner plugs in, but doesn't... See, there you go. That's the picture I just took. Isn't that cool? And people talk trash on technology. So as you can see, just better resolution that we get out of that image than this one that I originally put up. So I believe that to be an age progression of the Brosman shooter. Like this. As you can see here. Okay, let's put this side by side with Brosman, the Brosman killer. And I can't wait till this son of a bitch is caught so we can call him by his damn name instead of calling him the Brosman shooter or Brosman, whatever the fuck. Because to name him after the victim he murdered is kind of ridiculous. But okay. And so there you can see, now here's how I did this sketch. I basically drew, without any measurement, a visual illustration of the guy that I was looking at in the surveillance footage, and I think this is a better way to do sketches. I think that the proportionate measurements are nice for at least coming to an initial or basic understanding of what the guy's facial features kind of look like, but really there is no substitute for... going with the flow of human artistic illustration. And so you can see the guy in the middle is the Brosman shooter. The guy on the right is the age progression sketch of the Brosman shooter. All right, and then I'm going to shrink this one down. Let's take the Brosman shooter off again. Can we get this son of a bitch already so we can give him a name? Put a name to this dirtbag's bullshit. Okay, there we go. Okay, then I want to put on here another age progression of the Brosman shooter. This time a little bit different. This time he's got a little bit more of a Berkowitz-y look to him, and I think that is just... Now, I won't say that this is, like, inaccurate or doesn't represent the Brosman shooter in his older age, but I think that I just got a little bit of a better result on this sketch than on this one. I think the one on the right looks closer to an age progression of the Brosman shooter. The one on the left might be the Brosman shooter in another 10 years. I think I just went a little too old. But as you can see, the differences with my age progression and St. Charles's age progression is that the hairline is being altered with age. So the one on the left, he's got no hair on the top of his head, and on the one on the right, he's got a little bit of hair on the top of his head, but it's mostly thinned away. And the real question, I guess, is at what rate is he losing his hair, and that's why it's valuable to do 20 of these fucking things with different features, different looks, different facial hair, different glasses, different everything. And just put a lot of different possibilities out there. Because, again, like with the CCTV footage, which is probably our best lead, if anyone recognizes this guy, fucking call St. Charles and tell him, hey, that's my grandpa, you know. So. And if you're wrong, cool. At least your grandpa didn't shoot somebody. You know, it's good. Nothing wrong with that. If it turns out your grandpa didn't shoot someone, that's better. So, if he did, then also good, because then we can find out who shot Billy Brosman and who killed Robin Foldauer. And if my assumptions or my opinions are true, then that would be the same guy. So, okay. Let's keep going through this. I think I have charcoal 5. I'm going to throw it up there, even though I have lost some confidence in this sketch. But if you're seeing this video in 10 years and we still haven't caught this son of a bitch, then maybe he'll look like that. So let's throw him up there. We can block Drew Beeson for a little bit with the Sturmgewehr, because I think catching I-70 is a little bit more valuable than my silly joke about Drew Beeson shooting me. Okay. Moving forward. Let's see. Hey, did anyone else see when I did Happy Birthday to Drew Beeson? I meant that. I do like Drew Beeson. I just think he's wrong. And needs to address it. But, okay. All right, so basically the charcoal or the age progression that I just showed you that I said I lost some confidence in is based on this sketch right here. So as you can see, this sketch here on the far right is an age progression of the sketch in the middle. So that's one variation of the Brosman shooter. I think that the guy you see in the middle of your screen, it just isn't quite there, and I think that's why the age progression didn't land quite as nicely as the other age progression that I showed you and said that I had more confidence in. But either way, we're going to put them all up on screen. We can cover that, and we can start covering a bunch of shit on here. So I think the identity of the I-70 killer is more important. Yeah, I agree with you, Zap. I'm not, but might as well have it up. But this one I think is better. I really do. I'm a lot more confident in this sketch than the one on the top right. But have them all up there, why not? We're going to get somewhere with this fucking guy. And this is a totally solvable fucking case. All it needs is some more publicity. That's all it needs. You mean to tell me this guy's never talked to anyone in his life and no one knows who he is? The guy right here. Watch this video. Watch this fucking video and tell me this guy has never talked to another human being in his life and therefore no one knows who he is. Someone knows who this is. Look at this guy. Obviously someone knows who that is. The problem is, has that person seen this footage? Whoever you are and you know this guy and you worked with him or fucking went golfing with him, or you fucking played in a rock band with him or something, you know who he is. And the problem is, you haven't seen the CCTV surveillance footage, and if you have, why the fuck haven't you called the police? And that's another very realistic but very alarming possibility, is that someone recognizes him and hasn't called the fucking police. For whatever reason. Maybe they don't want him to go to jail, which is fucked up. And we just can't do anything about that. We need that tip. And we also need that publicity. Now, the benefit of the wider publicity, of course, is that this guy has almost certainly talked to more than one person in his life who can recognize him. And so if more people who know this guy have seen this video, they're not all going to let him get away with murder, and someone's going to call the cops. I think that what's happened is not enough fucking people have seen the video. All right? Okay. I want this one to be bigger than this one, though. Let's do a little adjustment. Look how many layers I have on OBS. It's insane. Okay. Charcoal 5. Or is this charcoal 8? I don't even know. Charcoals galore. Charcoal galore. Well, let's not just completely block it out. I'd be the one that's going to get him caught. So, let's get it like that. Alright. Let's see. So, where are we now? Alright, I want to show you a composite that basically represents the Brosman shooter in a disguise. How extensive is that disguise? Well, if he shaved his head, and if he grew a beard and put glasses on, this is what he might look like today. Now, this case is the epitome of showing you how a composite sketch can be tricky, because that looks like a lot of different guys. It really does. All of them do. Like, the guy that I told you about that's in jail right now, doing 9 or 12 years for shooting someone, he looks like that. So that's the problem with composites, but it does at least it has some value. But I think the trick is to have lots of different variations and to have them out there. Now, in this case, we're lucky because I do believe we have the I-70 killer on video. In perpetration. Yeah, Walter White. Yeah. I mean, shave your head, put glasses on, grow a beard. Everybody looks like Walter White when they do that. And part of that's because he's a white male. White males are notoriously hard to fucking... That's my chemistry teacher. Good. Call it in. White males are notoriously fucking hard to distinguish from each other in this line of, it's like, like the Zodiac sketch. It looks like everybody at NASA. So, there's benefits, but we're really lucky that we have, I believe, the I-70 killer on video in perpetration. Whether he was or wasn't the 92 killer, the Brosman shooter is on video killing somebody. So that guy needs to get caught. And it's just a matter of getting it into enough home. Now, we'll talk about that next, but I want to showcase all these different sketches and different things. And then we can talk about the status of this investigation and what I think it needs and what it has failed to do. Okay. So that's a possible likeness of I-70 right there, or at least the Brosman killer. We'll put him down here. True, it's sad in a way Billy's killer is on CCTV and they ain't spread it enough to get it solved. Totally. That's the only thing that's holding us back, is that we don't have... The CCTV just hasn't been seen by enough people. It's been seen by a lot of people. And there's just so much in this fucking case. It's such a rabbit hole. But I do like this case because although there's tons of information and stuff to discuss, the things that we're discussing are like valid things. It's not like Zodiac. I know, isn't it? It's very, very beautiful quality footage. I know it's blurry, but it's clear enough that you can totally recognize him. If I saw somebody I know and it was on footage that looked like that, I would fucking recognize him. No doubt in my mind would I recognize that person. Or somebody would. I'm kind of a little bit bad at facial recognition anyway. But some people are better at it. It's clear enough. It's just that people aren't seeing the fucking video. But I do like this case because the things that we're talking about are real things. Yeah, some current day cases got worse CCTV. Totally agree, and they get solved. Look at the Charlie Kirk murder, assassination. He was identified. His mom turned him in. So, and it's clear enough. But the part of what was going on there is that image of Tyler Robinson, Captain Otto Robinson, that was seen at the Charlie Kirk, and I'm not entertaining Candace Owens' fucking bullshit. I'm not even gonna give it time of day for even a shred of credibility, because the fucked up part is that everybody I've talked to in real life, bring up Charlie Kirk, and all of them are conspiracy theorists, and I'm just like, no, dude. Yeah, yeah. It's a joke. Tyler Robinson absolutely, definitely shot Charlie Kirk. It's retarded. People are retarded, trying to say it was the Mossad with exploding microphones and that bullshit. I know, isn't it sad? Everybody I talk to in real life is like, yeah, but there's something wrong with the shooting, and they like have this dumb bullshit. And it's like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. There's text messages that we have that Tyler Robinson confesses to the murder. He gives a play-by-play, and I'm going to get into that rabbit hole. But you get the idea. That photo of Tyler Robinson was seen on every fucking television screen in America. That is what we need with the Brosman case, or at least a larger push, so that somebody will recognize him because someone out there knows him. Who the fuck are you? Why are you not coming forward? Have you not been reached? Or do you have another agenda at play? If there are more than one of you, say something, people. Get into true crime more. This is not even a popular case in true crime. And the funny part is, the less bullshit there is to speculate about, the less people care. And that shouldn't be how it is. But at the same time, I don't want the I-70 case to get taken over by the same dirtbags and sheeple that have taken over the Zodiac investigation, who are trying to link the bus bomb letter to a map, because they're wasting everybody's time and energy with their bullshit. And of course, Zodiac is at this mythological status where, unfortunately, there's so much crap in that case that without DNA it will never be solved. With the I-70 case, the things that we're talking about here today in the I-70 case, the things that Bob Cyphers is talking about, the things that the relevant law enforcement departments are talking about are real things. They're not aerial maps and fucking cipher codes and bullshit. Yes, baby. What is it? I love you. I agree with you too. Yeah, definitely someone knows that guy. And we are in a point in Zodiac where it's like the things that are being talked about are just ridiculous stories at this point. It's a nightmare. It's a joke. The whole community is a shit show, and I've just left it basically in most ways. Now, do I still want to see Zodiac identified? Yes, of course. But I don't even talk with these people. Like, I get invited to a lot of Zodiac groups online because, of course, people either know about me from Ned's show or have found my videos or whatever in the Zodiac community, and I get invited to all these pages, and I don't interact with any of it because all it fucking is cipher solutions and map codes. And that is exactly what Zodiac fucking wanted you to do. He wanted you to argue about the bus bomb letter map code or the Z32 cipher for the next 500 years and get nowhere. Druzer ruined the Zodiac case with all his crazy... It's not even Druzer. Druzer's one of the best in the scene. You're funny, Zap. Because Druzer is among a very small core group of people in Zodiac world that still has a fucking head on their shoulders. And there's some of them, I'm not saying all of them, Ned is really good. Ned's very objective. Ned sometimes gives a platform to lunatics, and that's all well and good. I understand why he does it and what he's doing. He's just trying to get the case coverage, get the case talked about, keep it alive, in the hopes that we'll identify him. I get what Ned's doing, but at the same time, the people that go on Ned's show have a tendency to be absolute lunatics sometimes. And that's not his fault. But there's a very small number of these researchers that are not wasting everybody's time, and Druzer is in that crowd of people who's not wasting everybody's fucking time. I'm not talking bad about Ned. I'm talking good about Ned. I'm saying Ned is one of the people that's got his head on... Boo boo. Ned has his head on correctly. Now, I know that Ned is personally... I've seen Ned say this, that he doesn't necessarily agree with or condone the viewpoints of the people that he has on his show, and that's just one of many reasons why we can still say that Ned has a brain. Because there's been people on that show that say some wild shit. And it's that way in Zodiac. It isn't that way with I-70, and I hope that if this case gets some more publicity, we don't have the same invasion of the lunatics that has fucked up the Zodiac world. Right now, December 19th, 2025, we talk about the I-70 case. We're talking about real fucking things. And that is a major benefit to this investigation and this research evidence. It's more grounded and real. Yeah, totally. The Zodiac world is it's like weird. These people are fucking just out there. They're completely... There's some of these people are too far gone. Actually. Some of the people in Zodiac world are gone. Mentally. And we're not having that with I-70, which is great, and I hope that we don't ever get that with I-70. So let's put some more... now, I want to show you what a proportionate... I won't name names. I'll name names. Ray Grant, anyone? Sandy Betts, anyone? This is a proportionate composite of the Brosman shooter. The way that this was done was that measurements were taken and mapped onto a screen. Who's that fucking guy that was arguing that the bus bomb letter was a map of a military base? Oh my god. Dude, he was on BBOR for like a half hour. I was listening to BBR, and this fucking guy was going on and on and on about how the bus bomb letter is a map of a military base. I'm like, you are fucking crazy. Damn, that guy saw some shit. Dude, yeah, Zodiac World is a nightmare. And there are sane people in that world, you know, in this, not limited to Druzer and Ned, and you, that are saying real stuff in the Zodiac case. And unfortunately, the clamors of the insane basket case brigade drowns that out, because everybody is more interested in map codes than they are in ballistics. And that's just the sad reality of the situation. And I think part of the reason why the I-70 killer has not gotten popularity in true crime, because he's not sending us map codes, thank God. And it leaves a little bit of extra room for people who are still sane to talk about the case. Okay, so what you say? Turf wars? So this is a proportionate composite of the eyes of the Billy Brossman killer, and it was done using measurements of the CCTV mapped onto a grid, or basically a map of facial features, and then those facial features were mapped onto paper, and then in their place, semi-realistic human facial features were drawn. There's a lot to say about these composites, actually, but both mine and the official ones. Hello, BB.
Hi. What? Look at all those.
I know, all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, that one good.
This one right here?
Yeah.
The proportionate. Zap says hello.
Hi, Zap. What about that one?
That's the official I-70 killer sketch.
Oh, really?
Yep. That's why it's big on this side.
Yeah, I like yours, but...
Really?
Yeah.
No, okay. I love you. So, this is the Brossman shooter. I will show you guys this. It's kind of funny to show you. Now that she says that, I don't want to, like, rag on... Now, here's the thing. Tim Hickman saw the I-70 killer. I never saw him in real... maybe I've seen him if he's the Brossman shooter, which I think he is. I've seen him on video. I didn't come face-to-face with him 3 times like Tim Hickman did. Of course, in one event. Tim Hickman chased the I-70 killer with a gun, which is why he's so fucking cool, by the way. He worked at the video store next to the store of many colors where Sarah Blessing was killed. And when he heard the gunshot go off in the store next door, he pulled out his .38, put it behind his back, and ran outside. Then went into the store of many colors. He found the body of Sarah Blessing, and then he left the store, and going around the corner, because let me tell you the Tim Hickman story a little bit. So Tim Hickman worked in this video store next to the Blessing crime scene. It's literally the very next door over. And he was doing his workly duties, and he saw a man lurking at the edge of the parking lot. So, like, maybe we could do the measurements. I could pull it up for you guys. This is in Raytown, Missouri. Forgot the name of the shopping center. I have a friend in Missouri who lives walking distance from this crime scene, and I asked him if he could go check it out. But I'd like to go there myself to really give you a better opinion of the crime scene layout and everything. But so Tim Hickman saw this guy lurking at the edge of the parking lot, and the man started walking towards him. He took note of this man and thought he was strange because it was a relatively warm day in Missouri, and the man was wearing a blazer-type sports coat, which is another one of the reasons why I think this sketch over here is sourced from Hickman. And I think that's... I can verify that or disprove that or whatever it is, if necessary. But I do think that the sketch here that you see on the left of your screen is sourced from Hickman because that guy's wearing a suit jacket in that sketch. And Tim Hickman saw this guy walking directly towards him, face-to-face, and he thought, that's weird. This guy's wearing a suit jacket on a hot day like this. He went back into his store, and then he saw the man, I think, again. And this time he was closer to the storefront, he looked into Tim Hickman's store, because I think at Tim Hickman's store earlier that day or something, there were 2 women working there. So the man, the I-70 killer, walked up to that store, stopped in the doorway, like as if he was disappointed that he had seen Tim Hickman working there, and then left Hickman's site. Tim Hickman goes back to his job, whatever he's doing. He's, greasing video cameras, repairing video cameras, and, putting TriFlow in the video cameras. And he hears a gunshot just next door. He thinks, what the hell was that? That sounded like a gunshot. So he pulled out his .38 and he went next door to Sarah Blessing's store. Upon entering Sarah Blessing's store, he found Sarah Blessing dead on the floor, gunshot wound to the head. And almost immediately, he then walked back outside, where he turned to his right and he saw the same man that he had seen with the sports blazer going around the corner of the building. So he started to follow him, and when he turned the corner, which is I think a couple seconds later or whatever, he turned that corner and he saw the I-70 killer climbing the wooded incline at the corner of the parking lot, which leads into the residential area. This is a staple of I-70 killer crime scenes, that there's always going to be, or basically always going to be, he's a really good witness, by the way. And he's got his head on right. We'll talk his credibility. Tim Hickman's awesome. He saw this guy like 3 times at this event. I don't think we have it. At each one of these crime scenes is going to be like a small store, like whether it's a gas station in the case of Brossman, or if you want to get canonical, the shoe store, the wedding bridal store, the holistic medicine store, these different places where the I-70 killer struck, and it's a store backed into a corner, generally with some trees or a wooded area like this in an L shape, and then a residential area on the other side of that. That is the exact same geography that we see at the Billy Brossman crime scene. It's a gas station, liquor store, backed up into a corner, some vegetation, and then a residential area. And it leads to the freeway. Leads to the I-70, actually, specifically. Okay. So Tim Hickman has done interviews with Bob Cyphers. He's been on camera telling this story. And when he was shown the Billy Brossman footage, he emphatically, in all caps, replied, "Yes, sir," as in, that's the man that I saw in 1992, 9 years before the Brossman crime. There is Tim Hickman. Google Tim Hickman I-70. He's never said anything to make me question his credibility. He's never said anything that would make me think that he's. Yes, but I live. What is that?
Wayne's still out there.
Wayne's still out there? Okay. I live. Is Tim in the Unsolved Mysteries reenactment of the crime? Well, the Unsolved Mysteries, as far as I know, is a reenactment of the double murder of Patricia Smith and Trish Majors. So Patricia Smith and Trish Majors. Well, let me see this one. You want Lanyard?
I did my nail.
You just. The Major Smith double homicide takes place in the wedding store. It's called I don't know. I don't remember the name. In fact, I might be mixing up the Sarah Blessing name of her store and the wedding store where the double homicide takes place. But the double homicide takes place, and the Cummerbund Man comes in. And Cummerbund Man is not Tim Hickman. Cummerbund Man is another man who came face to face with the I-70 killer. There's a couple of these people that have looked this, straight front face to face interaction with this guy. Cummerbund Man is a different guy. Cummerbund Man has never been publicly identified and has never spoken publicly. Bob Cyphers attempted to interview him, but he was in poor health at that time, and that was in 2021, I think. So not sure how he's doing now. And hopefully I didn't fuck up the name of... Oh, cool. Yeah, it's possible, because Hickman has been public about this stuff. Hickman has spoken quite freely with Bob Cyphers, and he's been... I tried to find him on Facebook, actually, because I wanted to talk to him, like, urgently, but I wasn't able to find him. So if you're able to find Tim Hickman or contact him, let him know that I really want to talk to him, because we have some crunching to do on Brossman. I really need to talk to Tim Hickman. Seriously. Haven't been able to yet, but I would like to. So, anyway, let's move this one down a little bit more, and we're going to get a little into the weeds a little more on some more sketches and things. I have to start putting them on this side now, I guess, at this point. Let's start putting the ones that I like the most. Oh, this is a age progression of this. I was wondering where I think I started this one as an age progression. That would make sense. I wonder if it's the same sketch. Maybe not. Anyway. No, because all my age progressions, I generally will make them using copies of the same sketch. But let's just keep moving forward. So I like these two a lot. Where is this one? This one here. This one's important. In fact, I'd like to start zeroing in on this amalgamation composite more in recent times, or in upcoming times. Because I think this amalgamation composite is the fucking I-70 killer. This is very, very accurate likeness of him. More so than the famous main sketch. And more so than any one of these sketches individually. Alright. Is there anything... Oh, yeah. Okay, so now, this is basically the last composite that we're going to get into here, I think, today. Because a lot of information's been packed in here. I think it's been a very... I like the streams when there's so much to say that at no time do I just feel like I'm idling things. So this is an identikit. Identikits are built by taking individual facial features and piecing them together into a composite of somebody. Thanks, Zap. And so basically what I've done... Oh, yeah, that's what we're going to cover next, I guess, is what can we see from all of this? I think it's going to be worth talking about. We'll do some stuff on stream. So this is an identikit, and this is an identikit of the Brossman shooter age progressed. You can see that identikits are just simply not as good as composites. I believe this is called stroke. This is the one. Okay, so I'll also put this on the screen because it's another way of rendering an identikit that I like. Identikit. Oops. ID-kit stroke. Close that. So this is a portrait pad identikit of the person. Shot Billy Brossman. And this is with the effects rendered as stroke. So you can do different effects on the identikit maker. I'm using portrait pad personally. But I think that there are other ones that I would like to look into or get. It's just hard to find. A lot of these things are law enforcement softwares, so it's hard to actually get them. But portrait pad was available, and I don't have the paid version. And I was unable to also find a torrent for the paid version with more features. But I don't like when it has too much graphical realism. Yeah, portrait pad is used by law enforcement, but they pay for more features. So this is with stroke, and I just don't think it's as good as the composite sketches that we see. Why be in the Navy when you can be a pirate? Yeah, I torrent all kinds of shit out. In fact, we just watched Dr. Strangelove the other night, and torrented it, and it was like a whole big thing. I had to so. Okay. So let's start. Last thing to do, and then we'll close out. What the fuck? Okay. Let's talk about why it's valuable to have a million, trillion, billion of these sketches of this fucking guy. Because, like you can see with the amalgamation composite, where the 4 canonical sketches are put together and make an incredible fucking likeness of the Brosman shooter. That like I said in the beginning of the Book Depository movie, and I actually put this in the Book Depository movie as the intro because I think it was important to say it. Like, I needed to tell people this. The true value of a composite lies not in the individual appearance, or whatever, but in the recurrence of similar features across numerous representations of an offender. So when we have a lot of these sketches, what do we notice that recurs in them? Now, don't look at what the person looks like as a whole. Look at, like, the general verbal description of the person. The first person's got a long nose, and it kind of beaks out. Like, it does, like, it goes like this. It's long, and then it goes wonk. Like, it's big. This guy's a big nose, by the way. I really think he does. What the fuck? See, I have so many layers on OBS now, it's like getting out of control. Okay. We can tell that he's a thin white male. We can tell that he has that nose shape. And we can tell that there is a moderate gap between the nose and mouth. Probably a little bigger than mine is. And we can tell that he has kind of droopy looking eyes. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you earlier. By golly. I wanted to show you this. I might even have... I don't know where it is, though. Look at this. It's interesting. If you turn this sketch upside down, do you see how lopsided it is? It's kind of a flawed composite in that way. It's lopsided. So if St. Charles can maybe correct... I corrected this. I just don't know where the fuck I put it. So, whatever. But it's a little lopsided. But it's not, like, horrible. It's subtle. But it's going to have an effect on what it looks like when it's turned right side up, too. So, alright. Let's see what mine looks like when we do that, by the way. Let's take my favorite one of mine that I did. If I can find it. Oh, here, it's right here in front of my face. Yeah, it stands out now. Isn't that funny? Yeah, once you turn it upside down, you don't unsee it. Let's see what mine looks like upside down. Not bad. It's a little lopsided, though. Not as bad as the official one. So. Or let's take my age progression of the canonical sketch and turn it upside down. One thing that we do know about all of these is there's enough similarity in the appearance of all of these sketches that they could easily represent the same person. And some of them are Brosman and some of them are I-70. A little bit of lopsided there. Not horrible, but a little bit. Alright. Oops. Ever heard of the Thatcher effect? No, what is that? I'm looking it up right now. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Difficulty detecting facial distortions like upside down eyes or mouth in an inverted face, but immediately noticing them in an upright face. Let's see that. Isn't it interesting that it helps to sketch someone upside down then? Why is that? That's kind of weird. I mean, the Thatcher effect, though, she does look fucked up in that one. Even upside down. I see that it's harder to recognize it. But she also does look really fucked up upside down on that one. Yeah. So I don't know what relevance... Like, what, not to say what relevance, but what part that plays in doing composite sketches upside down versus doing them upright. But what I do know is that when we look at a picture of the I-70 killer, He looks pretty normal right side up, but when you flip him upside down, he looks kind of crooked. And I wonder how much of an effect that has on the right side up image. I have a corrected version. I just don't know where the fuck I put it. So I wish I did. I wish I knew where I put it. It's probably in a bag somewhere. Deep in a bag. Oh, it's right here. So this is a corrected version. If you flip it upside down, well, the paper's fucked, but see how it's more symmetrical? Better hold the paper straight than the official one. And then what impact does that really have on, you know, not much. It pretty much looks like the same guy. I mean, this one's a little bit, there's details missing there, but anyway. Okay. So, the point being that all of these composites, whether they're sourced from the Brosman offense or they're sourced from the I-70 case, they could easily represent the same guy. So that's just one piece of the puzzle. That's a big... Yeah, he does look a bit younger. So people like to look at this case with Brosman, and they're like, oh, but the guy who shot Billy Brosman looks like the sketch. Don't forget that that is not the only piece of ammunition that we have to say that Brosman was killed by the I-70 killer. That is just one tiny piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of stuff, including a witness identification. I mean, we have an arsenal in the way of substantiating the possibility that Brosman was shot and killed by the same man who shot and killed Robin Foldauer. Because we have a witness identification, we have a identical crime scene geography, we have basically an identical modus operandi, we have, I mean, the murder of Billy Brosman takes place less than a mile away from where Mick McCown was shot in 1992, or where he was killed. So it's right in the same hunting ground, it's the same kind of store, the same time of day. I mean, everything is like the same. So there's an array of sketches for you guys. And then last but not least, and most importantly really, in all of this, oh yeah, it's right next door. Here, let me see if I have a map here for you to look at on this. Local geography of attacks. Close up. I have like a folder, but it's not really the best organization because I'm kind of bad at computer organization. Let's see. Locations of both Terre Haute murders. Okay, here we go. So this is, and I think that I yellow highlighted the I-70, the Interstate 70, running through Terre Haute there. At the top of your screen, you see the thumbtack for the 1992 murder of Mick McCown, and then at the bottom left, you have the 2001 murder of Billy Brosman. And funnily enough, you actually see Quester's famous dig and retreat here, because if he's using the I-70 for transportation, he's done a dig and then he's done a retreat. So Quester might be onto something there. I think Quester even talked about dig and retreat in this case too, because Quester did cover this case. I don't want to get too much into geography because I've been meaning to do this for a while in this case, and I just haven't done it yet. I did a stream on Nuke Hoax, the first Nuke Hoax channel, called All Roads Lead to Missouri. But I would like to do it again on the new channel, and I also want to do it better. But I think that there is indication that the Brosman murderer, or the I-70 killer of 92, was entering freeways that point towards Missouri, and same, of course, with Billy. Like, this is the same area. And there's so many pieces of the puzzle. I think what happened is the 2001 event was the same I-70 killer. I think that he basically relapsed on murder. And that he came out of dormancy after 9 years. I don't know what he was doing for 9 years. Some people have pointed to different things. who really knows what he was doing for 9 years. I think he came out of dormancy, he struck again, and this time he was captured on surveillance footage, and he went, oh shit, I can't do that anymore. And then he stopped. Because he knew that he would be recognized. And I totally think it's the same fucking guy. But anyway, so that's the Terre Haute murders there for you. They're like a mile apart or something like that. And, oh yeah, most importantly, I almost forgot, but I didn't forget. Don't worry, Billy. Whoops, wrong thing. Apparently I started writing a PDF called How Good is the Main Composite? I don't know how close I got to it. Most importantly, if you recognize this man. Hold on. Almost. Let's put the this one up here, and then we're almost there. We're almost there, folks. If you recognize this man, I'm going to cover up their shitty age progression because I don't like it. And I have to put that picture somewhere because this picture is more important than their age progression. If you recognize the man on the bottom right who's seen the CCTV, whoops, let's not cover the phone number that I'm about to read to you. Contact 1-800-800-3510. Submit a tip. If you're the kind of person who's a jerk and you need money before you'll help us catch a murderer, there is a $25,000 reward for the apprehension of the I-70 serial killer. So if that helps to motivate you, call 1-800-800-3510 and help us get this son of a bitch. Last thing is let's put this little banner like this. You can see there, help us catch the I-70 killer. Live from a spinning ball, this has been the most